It's May 13. This is the Parks Committee meeting. I do not have an agenda, but this is a follow-up meeting from the April 22nd meeting. I'll just take a roll call here. I'm Brad Kahn, I'm here. Mayor Kelly Hoffey.
Here.
Tom Bond is not here, should be coming hopefully soon. Andrea Kellogg.
Here.
Nate Troyer.
Here.
Pat Meller.
Here.
And Bob Shoemaker is participating as a council member. So I reached, what's that?
You said participation,
Yeah.
I said constipation.
Oh, okay, all right.
Nice, Bob.
This is recorded.
It's, yeah.
So I reached out with Nate to try to get additional estimates for the pickleball courts. One of the things from the last meeting I believe I touched on was there was some discussion with a person that has played pickleball quite a bit. He came to me, he said, Brad, if you just stripe the nets, or if you just stripe the courts, you'd be surprised the number of people that have their own netting. So I thought, why don't we see, how many or how much it would cost to get anywhere from 2 to 4 pickleball courts just striped down there. So we got an estimate back from Vasco, and it came down to $13,793. So I want to share some text messages that I sent out because I explained to, I'm on this thread with, it's called Pickleball Millersburg. So I started out by saying, this is Brad Kahn, I'm the chairman for the Park Committee in Millersburg, I need your feedback. What if we could expand an additional 2 or 4 pickleball courts with the lines only? Nets would have to be brought in by those who are playing. This was suggested to me, but I wanted more feedback. Is this an option that could work? Just throwing this out there for your feedback. There are other options, but this is the least expensive. So, first response, wonderful. Another response, Brad, there are several people in our group that have portable nets that they bring. If lines are painted on the court, it would be good to put them where eventual permanent courts would be. This sounds like a short-term, inexpensive solution that could possibly be done very soon, I would think. Another response. This is a great option, Brad. Believe it or not, pickleball adds to the economy of Millersburg. When travelers book hotels in Millersburg/Holmes County, they want to be active. Our hotels in the area need to add this to their amenity list. Pickleball and tennis nearby, 2 exclamation points. The courts in Millersburg are very active. 2 more would be wonderful. Thanks for reaching out. Another response, great idea. And I said, keep your ideas coming. Somebody else responded, I think this is a great idea. Another person responded, great idea, Brad. You could easily add 4 more courts by laying down lines on both sides of the existing courts without adding any more fence. Another response, yes, it would work great, thank you. Another response, Lila here, I think 2 to 4 extra courts would be amazing. An added plus for bringing our new nets in, we could play whenever the weather allows, even if it is in March. No worries about the poles breaking. That's the feedback that I got from individuals that they send out a text message, and it's basically, we're going to play pickleball at 2:30, anybody that can come, show up kind of a thing, and then people just respond from that. So I wanted to share something else too. This was in the Bargain Hunter.
Yeah, I read that.
And it was in this week's Bargain Hunter. And actually, the heading on the front page
Sorry.
says the sport of pickleball has made its way to this area with Old Airport Park, one of the area's top places to play. The fastest growing sport in the nation. There are 465 and counting pickleball courts in Ohio, the 8th most of any state in the union. The sport has made its way to this area with Old Airport Park, the top place to play in Holmes County, according to the Coshocton Pickleball Club, and the only place to play in Millersburg, according to Pickleheads, which said there are 465 courts in Ohio, the 8th most of any state in the union. Other public places within a short jaunt are Christmas Run Park in Worcester and Hall Park in Coshocton. The YMCA and Aspen Racket Club, also in Worcester, have courts, but memberships are required. Folks, I'm just putting this information out to reinforce how the interest is, or what the interest is, of people that are playing, that want to play, the people that want to keep active, and pickleball is their sport. So again, the estimates for just striping is just under 14,000. So I reached out to Matt. Matt Wilson was the guy that provided the estimates. And I said, what would it cost to add the posts and a net for each court? And he said it would cost $3,500 per court. So this is my thinking, and I'm just thinking out loud. If we added 2 more permanent posts and nets, and we had 4 pickleball courts striped down there, you could have 2 courts that were just striped with no netting or post placed in. You could keep the basketball courts the way they are. You wouldn't have to relocate them. And if you have enough people down there to play pickleball takes over any basketball. Same with basketball. If you've got people playing basketball, then you can't play pickleball for that area. But that would be a way to alleviate relocating the basketball hoops. And obviously the other option is, now there's other options, but is you just make 4 additional courts with no additional netting, and people just bring their own. Something else that we need to think about is there are barriers. If you go up down there, if you go down to Airport Park right now, you'll see the fencing all around the pickleball courts. And that keeps the ball from going into another player's court. And I've played pickleball where you've got 3 courts, one side by side, and you occasionally get a ball that comes into your court and you just stop your game, you play the point over. So you could actually have a couple barriers. You could have portable barriers put down there. It would be inexpensive to do that. I don't have a cost connected to that yet, but I did ask Matt Wilson if they had anything like that, and he said no. The things that they make or provide are more permanent. So that's what I have on pickleball. And switch gears here a little bit. I want to turn this over to Nate, because Nate met with Mount Hope Fencing today regarding the backstop issue, because I know that the backstop was part of the big picture down there, because we got feedback from people that had a concern about upgrades to the baseball field that they believe needed to be. So Nate,
I met with, can't remember his name. Mike Beachy. He measured the backstop, he checked it out. He's gonna give me a firm price to replace the entire thing. But he checked the posts and he said, you could just put new fence up. The posts aren't bad. I asked him for told him we're meeting in a couple hours, so I'd like to have an idea of what are we talking here. Came down to $3,000 is a real safe number for them just to come in and put new fence material on the existing post, just on the backstop, top and bottom. And a double rail on the bottom, right behind home plate, the center section. That's where 90% of the problem is. That it's just a single rail that breaks and curls up, and you don't want kids sliding into that or whatever. I was very surprised with that number. I was expecting more than that, so I think that's very doable. I don't know what their schedule is, but it may be kind of a long-term Band-Aid fix. If that makes sense. It's not all new fencing, but it's a good fix for however long. How long have those been there? Do you know, Pat?
I would guess in the 70s.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So we could buy quite a few years.
The same one's been there since I've been here.
Yeah.
29 years.
I was very pleasantly surprised by that.
I think one of the other things that we've had discussions on too is the need for dugouts down there. There's a little bench on both sides, and whether you're a little kid playing or you've got high school softball girls or whoever, I mean, there's just not a lot of room down there. And the dugout would provide a safety feature, for kids with a roof over the top of it. Also probably keep parents away from the coaches coaching the kids.
I don't think dugouts do that.
So,
They help.
They do help.
Okay, it's gotten better then since.
No, it's very hard when there's no dugout.
Yeah, that's true.
but that's something else that, we've had some discussions with about adding down there. So, just wanted to, that's the information since the last meeting. I wanted to have a discussion about what direction we needed to go on this.
So Pat and I met with Tony after that last meeting. The dugouts was a big request. The other was moving, there's two sets of bleachers on the third base side. Moving one over to the first base side beyond the concession stand. The dugouts, the fence, the backstop. And then the other feedback that he gave, we may have talked about, but I thought it was very good, was if we, down the road, if we pursue grant funding for playground equipment or anything, don't put it in the back. Put it out, like on the other side of the pickleball, towards South Washington. Much more visible. Parents are more likely to be out there versus clear in the back where they can't watch their other kid playing. I get it made sense. If we're gonna invest a lot of money in some piece or pieces, move it out where it's visible and more likely to be better used. If that makes sense. That was really the big things, I think. Was there anything else?
We
Oh, the
talked
siding
about
on
the siding
you guys
on
took care of.
the coach's room, the storage building.
Yeah.
I have the siding already bought. It's just gonna be a case of getting it worked into our schedule to knock the old off of there and put it up. And then our plans are to paint that whole building. Whether or not we'll do the two different colors or not, I don't know yet. And then back to the bleachers, that might take a little, I think we can do it in-house, but we'll have to pour a concrete slab underneath it. Otherwise, a couple of years, you could put berm or gravel down, but you'll have grass and that growing underneath there, so I think the best way to go would be a slab of concrete underneath it. The only other thing I kinda wanted you guys to know is, there is one tree down there that was recommended we remove. The other ones, we're gonna trim them up. They're soft maples. There's one that's got a lot of different crooks in it. He said it's holding water. He really recommended we get it down, so it's on the schedule to be taken down. Excuse me. But there's one that's leaning, got a lot of limbs leaning over the pickleball. We have to get with the trailer park, and we have plans of having those trimmed back, so hopefully that we won't have damage from someone else's tree. But other than that, I mean, those things there, as soon as I get my summer help in that, I think most of those will be able to handle in-house. That's
How
just-
much do you think pouring a slab is gonna be?
I'm just guessing it's gonna probably be 6 or 7 yards of concrete. We don't necessarily, since it's not gonna have vehicle traffic on it, 5 inches should be thick enough. We'll put wire net in it. We can do that ourselves pretty much.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'd
I'd say $1,000
yeah.
Okay,
in just a slab.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
we're already gonna be, you know, you guys are already paying us for it work, so.
yeah.
As long as we can get it worked in. And then I think we have enough equipment, we can move the one bleacher over there and lag it down.
Okay.
That would be the only,
That has a concrete pad under all of it.
yeah, all it has concrete pad, and it's actually got a large apron in front. But we talked about if we do dugouts, we'll have to adjust where that one to the north sits, otherwise the folks won't be able to see the game. Don't really want to set it behind the dugout, obviously.
We're just talking a chain,
Well, we've talked a couple different,
like a deer run,
so yeah,
like a
you could do
cage.
something like, it's just the front, back, and top at Deer Run. You can see through them.
Right, yeah.
Loudonville has kind of a hybrid, it's just fence on the front and back, and then a solid roof on the fields over on Wally Road.
Yeah.
But those fields are further apart, so I don't know how much of an issue they have with being able to see. You're already sitting at your field. And then like Killbuck on the new fields, they have like aluminum metals or metal
Yeah,
sided.
almost like a portable building.
Yeah,
They're
fully
posted
enclosed.
around, but they're, I don't know, prefab, sort of like a prefab.
yeah,
I
they
don't
look
know.
like it. But
I think they're 6 by 10, something like that, 6 by 12.
I couldn't tell you.
I never measured them, I could do that at some point.
There's just not much room for the kids or anybody that's playing to sit on that bench. I mean, there's just not much room down there at all.
You're pretty restricted on the west side anyhow, aren't you, with the concession stand there? I mean, there's not a lot of room.
Yeah, but that's what we talked,
there's
maybe
not.
sliding it down towards first, further. You got that pole, there's a utility pole,
Yeah.
like at the end of where the dugout would be,
Right.
the concession stand and field fence. You could slide it down. The bleachers would have to be moved down, obviously.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the bleachers are gonna be closer to where the scoreboard,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, get them down there where they can see it at an angle.
Mm-hmm.
That way that leaves us, if we can build dugouts, that we can kind of see around. They may not get 100% view, but at least on the far south end of the bleacher, they should be able to see one plate.
That'd be good.
And then there was talk about putting a window so that you could see the game. So I don't know what the cost is associated with that.
There's no cost. They've got Provia donated the window,
Okay.
and one of the parents, Micah Roach, has a kid playing softball. He's a contractor.
Okay.
He agreed to put it in
That's awesome.
for nothing.
That's awesome.
So let me back up a little bit more. So think about all this stuff, but I keep talking about this ODNR grant. I'm tired of talking about it, to be honest with you, because part of the problem is that you're supposed to have your grant submissions by June 1st. And now the most recent website indicates that the grant submission date is to be determined. And I was told that that was probably going to happen, and it has.
Because they still have no allocation.
They have no allocation per county for the state of Ohio. So was talking to Nate a little bit before the meeting. I thought, it'd be nice to have estimates for these dugouts. It'd be nice to be able to provide for the kids, a nice dugout. If we have to scale back, we scale back. But I guess my mindset is always let's go for something nice down there, and if we have to scale back because it's just too much, then we do that. But I was thinking, earlier today, I thought, 3 years ago, what was down at Airport Park? We had beat up tennis courts down there, and we had a ball diamond, and we had some playground equipment. Now that is turning into the hot spot to go to play one of the most popular sports, pickleball. So I think that the direction that we're going is the right direction, and we just need to figure out what more we want to do down there. I was first thinking on these on the dugouts, maybe we apply for the grant money for the dugouts, but obviously we need to get some estimates for that. But I think a lot of it depends on what direction we go with these pickleball courts too.
Well, so as I was sitting here, if you add up doing the striping for the 4 courts, doing that on one of them, do the backstop, and I figured $1,500 for the bleachers, just for incidentals and whatever we run into. You're at 22,000. We have 45
Right.
appropriated. That would leave 23 to be used towards match for the grant. If it
Is it a
well,
50/50? Is that what it
It's
is?
25%.
25.
Oh, 25, okay.
But wait, let me
It would
back
still
up. I'm
be-
not sure I heard you right. So if you striped 4 pickleball courts, you're at 13,793.
Mhm.
If you added 2, did you say 1?
I said one net, one permanent net, and the other one would just be the one by. I would think the one by the basketball courts would be the one that. If
So then
you
you'd
want to
add
use
2.
it, you have to bring your net.
So then you'd add 2.
To what?
You'd add 2 permanent posts, one set for each court,
Oh,
plus the
so it's
net.
35 per
It's
court.
3,500 per court.
Okay, I misunderstood. I thought it was.
No.
I thought it was per.
Yeah, so it'd be
like,
$7,000 for
that,
2
For
courts.
2 courts. Okay.
Do they still use the tennis courts down there?
Believe it or not, I've seen. Yeah. There
It's-
is.
They're not as
occasionally-
popular, Andrea.
Oh, yeah,
Excuse
by
me,
far.
Nate.
It's not as popular, but there are some, you've seen them. There are people using them every now and
Already
then.
this spring.
I was wondering that too,
Yeah.
because I thought that would be so much better
Yeah.
to just take away the tennis courts and add
Just get tennis
pickleball
courts
there,
out at the high
and then we
school.
wouldn't have to worry about
I would
moving
hate to move.
basketball.
I would hate to get rid of that tennis court down there. I'd feel bad about that. Because I remember there was feedback when we initially reached out, there was still interest in the tennis court.
Could you
So-
make the temporary courts on the tennis court?
Yeah.
They could still tape off the tennis court if they needed to. So if we had 6 pickleball courts down there and somebody came down there and said, I want to play pickleball, they could tape off the tennis court.
Well, can I ask you something? Why aren't we using it where that they can schedule ways to play down there?
Who's going to do that, Andrea?
They do it in other, have a Facebook group, have them doing it. Have them scheduling where they can all play down there. Have them all, have a group doing it. It can be done, I saw, you
We
can find it
schedule
out.
like league stuff, reservations. for
I mean, the pickleball
private-
people, their own league, their own,
Yeah, if there was a league that came in and said, can
Okay.
we reserve, say we have 6 courts, can we reserve 4 of them? Sure, we'll work with you.
well,
But we're not gonna get into.
no, not
the
us.
schedule of-
That group gets their own app.
Yeah.
They get their own thing, and that whole group of the pickleball people, and
It's still a public park too, though.
Yeah,
So somebody
what if
that's
you're
not
not
a
part of the
member.
group? What if you and I just wanna go play pickleball?
Yeah,
But then you don't, if it's like we talked about, he even brought it up, that's how, if you wanna go golfing, you're scheduling a thing at the golf, it's the same thing.
Well,
It's
you
the,
used the analogy of golfing, and you can't always play golf.
right,
when
you
show
gotta
up to play
schedule
golf.
your time on the course.
But this is so different, Andrea. I mean, you don't have anybody down there to organize and to arrange when people come down there. It's a public park where people just show up and they hope to get into play. The neat thing about a lot of pickleball players is if they're down there playing and they see that there's an overcrowding issue, they tend to they play a game and they let other people jump on the court and play. They rotate. For some of the younger generation, that's not always the case. But, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you had 4 additional pickleball courts. That's not gonna be enough at times.
That, I mean,
And we're not gonna be able to please everybody that wants to play down there. But you do have that extra tennis court, where you could take that off to play if,
could you do
You
2
wanted
on the
to.
tennis court?
I think
if
you
go
could.
Side,
I think you could.
sideways.
Is there a way that we could put the 2 temporary ones in the tennis court?
I'd rather see that than affect the basketball.
I would too.
Me too. I'm
I
not
would
gonna- yeah.
Every
too.
softball game I've been to this spring, there's
Yep.
kids playing
I've
basketball.
seen it.
Yeah, I
And-
agree.
in fact,
I agree.
I've been
I
trying
would
to put
rather
it-
see
yeah.
that.
And you
Yep.
don't want adults to sort of
Yep,
run off kids because, hey, we're gonna play pickleball, this
Yeah.
is pickleball court,
Yeah.
yeah, I
go do
agree.
something else.
Yep,
Now, the striping wouldn't get into the basketball striping.
but eventually, the way
It's
if
just,
we're talking
they'd be
about,
closed.
Well, but Nate, if you had 4 courts, if you had 4 additional courts, it would.
Is it an option to
Adventure
put
at all.
it in the tennis?
If
Area?
you had 4 additional pickleball courts, it would go into the striping for the basketball courts.
yeah, I'm not
There's
gonna
no
be
way to
okay with
avoid
taking the
that.
basketball courts away.
I agree with you. I would rather see
Yeah,
it
me
over in
too.
the tennis
Over the
area
tennis
than
area.
in the basketball area.
It
Yep,
goes to temporary ones, and
Yep.
if
Mm-hmm.
it's an overflow,
Well, and if there's nobody using the
and
extra
somebody
ones,
playing
then
tennis,
somebody can
then-
play tennis, then that's
Oh, well.
fine.
right.
Is that an option?
I guess if you go to a third, whatever, 3, yeah, 4th color to make it very obvious that, like they do volleyball court on a basketball court,
Yeah.
it's a
Mhm.
completely
A
different
different
color.
color.
Hmm.
The option of striping off for pickleball courts on the existing tennis court was not something that we even looked into. I think that would get very complicated if you were playing tennis, to see all these lines on a tennis court.
you're only worried about 2 lines. If you're playing tennis,
Right.
those 2 and then your backcourt line.
And the reason why I thought that is, number one, there are a lot of kids that play basketball down there. But number 2, we have beautiful tennis courts out at the high school. I mean, when I played tennis with my daughter, we went out to the high school. We didn't, we tried down there, but that's when the court was so terrible, we couldn't play. You can't play tennis, but, I mean, I think that's a great idea.
I'll throw my 2 cents in. I'd rather keep the tennis courts. If you wanna, put a temporary pickleball court, fine, but if someone does show up and wants to play tennis, pickleball people gotta go out of that court.
Yeah, so why are we saying that it's okay to kick somebody off if
Yeah, you don't kick it.
you want to play pickleball if somebody's down there playing basketball?
No.
But if somebody's playing pickleball and they're using the tennis court and somebody wants to come down and play tennis, they can't play?
Right?
That doesn't make any
I think it's a
sense.
first
Well,
come,
it's
first
the
served.
Yeah,
same thing.
It's first come,
It's the
first
same
served.
thing, yeah.
You don't kick
That's
somebody off.
exactly what I was throwing out there for the pickleball courts.
I mean, could we
It's
have-
first come, first serve. If you're playing
Right.
pickleball, if you've got 6 pickleball courts that are being played on, and somebody wants to come down there and play basketball,
Yeah. I think we need to have some sort of signage if we do that. That
I
says
agree.
First come, first serve.
Yeah.
Which should be common
Otherwise,
sense anyway.
Should be, but common sense.
Well, we
is
become a,
common.
yeah, we become, where you
Right.
think that we're entitlement or whatever, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's common sense that if you're there, you get to,
Right. Yeah.
I guess I just
And I'm
don't see
assuming-
the, I don't see the difference between if it's okay to give up the basketball, but it's not okay to give up the tennis. I just don't see,
Me
it's the
neither.
exact same thing to
Me
me.
neither.
I'm assuming the pickleball courts would be perpendicular to the tennis courts,
Yes.
so.
I have never seen the actual diagram from Vasco. I don't know how else they were planning to do it.
The pickleball courts are usually north-south oriented.
Well, that's the way these are oriented down there.
The existing ones, but if you're talking perpendicular to the,
To the
Well,
tennis.
I'm sorry, be parallel. That's,
Okay.
that's what I thought.
So what they were planning was just beside, just bring 4 more courts headed towards the basketball court.
There's enough room on
Yeah.
each side of the tennis court.
There would be,
Yeah,
yeah,
the net, tennis net,
yeah.
to run.
Yeah,
north
because
and
it's an
south.
arrow, it's 20 feet wide, I think.
I think so.
I think it is.
Well, I was thinking length.
Somebody had some tape, actually 2 courts taped off to the.
I actually
east.
have a picture of
Yeah,
one of
to
the
the
courts
east of
that were
the-
taped off.
In the basketball area.
Yeah, in that
Yeah.
open area.
Well,
Yeah.
that's running parallel to the existing pickleball courts.
Okay.
And that's just tape.
Yeah, yeah.
So my thinking was that they would put another pickleball court right here.
Over there.
I mean,
then-
Vasco never came out and said how they were gonna place these, but again, I assume
Well,
that,
it's up to us.
well, and I assume that whether they run them north and south or east and west, I guess that's up to us, but I had envisioned that they were gonna be, parallel to the existing
Yeah,
courts.
I mean, the tennis net too would also create a bumper between the 2 courts too. That'd be another,
Benefit.
and you have fence on either end too.
Yeah.
There's already the fence.
Already fenced there to keep your ball in your court.
Yeah.
I know it's not exactly what you were thinking, Brad, but it sure seems like a good idea. I don't know.
I think if somebody wants to go down there and tape off the tennis court, because that's the only hardscape area to tape off, that they can do that, and they've been doing that. But to add striping at our expense, that doesn't make any sense to me, and I think that that's gonna be confusing down there to anybody that's playing tennis.
I guess if you make it a different color, I don't see the issue. The lines inside the tennis court. I assume there are white lines on the outside for tennis, make them yellow for pickleball.
Pickleball or blue or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's what they do in the gym for volleyball and basketball. They've got lines all in there and they all use the same.
No, I like the basketball courts on, I mean, we'll have 2 courts there, but the rest of it will be left alone.
It'd be interesting.
That would give us
maybe
4 courts. Four more
how
pickleball
far
courts.
The second court goes into the key, because I think just the keys are painted for the basketball
Yeah.
court, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see how far they go into that key.
Yeah, I thought, there's like 50 feet between the existing fence and the
Top of the
top of the key. And they're 20-foot wide pickleball courts.
I would almost say that someone could, if they would be kind about it, could play basketball on one side or the other. You know, and still let someone play.
Pickleball with
To
that
the
court.
north or south.
Okay.
Well, Nate, the court is 20 feet, but how much space do you have beside it between that and the fence? I'm not sure what that spacing there is down there now.
So the existing one is, or the existing two, there's a fence. I think it's like 4 foot off the edge of the court.
Is that all it is? Okay.
Yeah, but there's nothing beyond that. From there to the basketball, to the end of the court is open.
Right, right.
So if we're just gonna strike, there's no fence as of now. There was 50 foot from the end of that fence to the top of the key.
Okay.
You know, 2 weekends ago, I was helping somebody across the street, so I was in and out, moving, helping somebody. I mean, literally, everything was going on there.
Mm-hmm.
There was softball, there was pickleball, there was both basketball hoops being, I mean, it was, and so it's all going on, so you don't take anything away from anybody. And I'll be honest, during the week, sometimes you're seeing nobody play pickleball.
Sure.
So your Saturdays or your on Sundays, I'm noticing more of the bikes. Either of maybe that east coming over with their bikes, and everyone's playing pickleball. Saturday is the day where everybody's down there. If it's a nice day, that's when everybody's on that pickleball court. I mean, I eat lunch every Wednesday in Chicago, and there's nobody. 1 o'clock in the afternoon, nobody's playing pickleball. So it's Saturdays when I'm seeing it the most packed at the pickleball court.
So one of the things, I guess the compromise that comes to mind immediately today is, and what I'm hearing, and I understand it, you don't want to take away the opportunity for anybody that wants to go down there and play tennis. If they go down there with the intent to play tennis, you want them to play tennis. You don't want to have them worry about somebody taking over that tennis court. Same with basketball.
Yeah.
So the compromise to me is you add 2 more pickleball courts. You add the striping for 2 more courts, and you put the permanent posts and nets up for 2. And you leave the rest of the hardscape alone.
That's the 28.
Well,
what that
the amount would be less than this, because this is for 4 pickleball courts. So,
No, going back to their earlier quote.
The earlier quote
Oh.
of,
April
that's the
26th.
yeah, but
28.
that was for fencing and everything.
Right.
So I'm just suggesting that they stripe 2 additional pickleball courts and add permanent posts like we have down there now and nets for 2 additional pickleball courts and leave the rest alone.
I'd be good with that.
So their estimate to stripe 4 courts was $13,793. That has to come down.
From 4 to 2.
So that would be the compromise that,
But if we want to do this nice, I think that the fencing quote, to do 2 courts and do them like we have now,
Yeah.
where it's fully fenced in so you don't have balls going in and out,
I understand that, Nate.
you're at 28.9.
Yeah.
We can do that 28.
We can
now.
do
Well,
And
if
then
you
still
guys are
have-
okay, that would be the best case scenario for 2 courts.
And then you still have money to do the backstop, the bleachers, and still money left for either doing dugouts or using that as,
As the
Grant.
match for Grant.
depending what a quote on the dugouts
So
is.
28,000.
Brad, I think if we're gonna do them, we might as well do them right.
Well,
Do 'em nice,
that's,
right?
I'm all for that.
But remember back, we did the 2 courts, the 2 pickleball courts without any fencing. And like day 1 or 2, they were barking that they need fence around them because they don't want to chase the ball.
I hear you. You know what? I'm trying to get all the feedback from the people that are contacting me. I'm thinking this is a way to bring down the cost. It's not perfect, but if this committee is willing to go there, I'd be tickled to death. To let people know we're adding 2 more pickleball courts. We're gonna do it right. We're gonna add the fencing. And
And you still have.
people
an open
can still
area
take
to
things
take
off
all
if
the
they want to.
temporary.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
We have 40,000,
45.
because we'll be at 36 for the pickleball courts and the backstop, and 15 for the concrete. So we don't have a lot of match for, well, depending on what the dugouts would cost, I mean,
Well, and if it's not until next
No.
year project,
So if we do the 2 courts, fully do them, you're at 29,000.
Right.
The backstop was 3 at worst.
I thought it was 7, so
Yeah.
I thought it was 7.
Yeah,
Okay.
15 for the bleachers.
The other thing we
Oh,
ought to
seven.
think about, if we do
Oh,
all this, add into, if you're gonna go for a grant, this is my opinion, lighting of some sort, security lighting.
Yeah.
Maybe that could be added in on the grant. I don't know how that works, but.
So the existing lighting down there, Pat, is it not working?
The lighting around the tennis court is pretty ancient.
Yeah.
You can tell by looking
The baseball field, that stuff has been redone, right, Nate?
Yes, it was
They
done
were just,
Yeah.
it was just
2
done.
years ago with our Deer Run.
Yeah, I think that ought to be thought about, the security part of it.
Yeah, I did reach out to our rep with AEP to see, there's the pole behind the concession stand, if we could get like a street light or security light on there. I just haven't heard back yet.
I would be good with this 28.
I
Brad.
feel like doing a knuckle punch or something, or all meet in the middle and do a test pump or something.
That's it on pickleball courts though. After we do that, there's no more big.
Oh, I don't know, Andrea, you know. I
I'd
don't
like to
ever
see
want to
better- I'd
say,
like to see the basketball courts at Clay Street with better backdrops and.
I would too. I drove
mean,
by them the
I-
other
th-
day
those-
and I thought,
that court needs redone.
yeah,
It gets a lot of use.
Yeah,
That
and
basketball court
the,
gets a
the
lot.
rims that don't bend, they're bent down and the thing and paved and.
so we've got a meeting coming up here in a few minutes. I'm gonna make a motion to proceed with Vasco to add 2 more pickleball courts, permanent posts and netting.
And nets, the full thing.
Correct. And in addition to that, pursue the backstop upgrade and relocate the bleachers. And Nate to reach out and get additional estimates on the dugouts.
Dugouts.
And we'll proceed at another meeting to be determined.
Do you want options like we talked about,
Absolutely.
just fence, just
Yeah.
like a cage? I don't call it cage. It's open.
Oh, geez.
Kids can
Well,
come
that's
and
not,
We're not gonna call it that.
yeah, don't, no, that just gets us a lot of attention here.
go. Just a fence, dugout, something with a roof, or we're not even interested.
But I think a roof.
Yeah, roof.
We talked earlier today that Loudonville has the ones with the roof and fence around them. It's nice if it starts raining. If it starts dumping rain and blowing, they're getting soaked, but they're going to leave anyway at that point. So, and there is a pavilion down there as well they can get under. So, just throwing that out there. I don't know that roofs are 100% necessary, but they're nice. Quick little burst.
Sprinkles, it's okay.
Yeah.
Rain,
Yeah.
not so much.
Yeah, I agree with that, Brad.
Is that a second?
I'll make the motion.
Well,
I made a motion.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign if you're opposed. So we'll present this to village council, get their
Yep.
approval hopefully, and then go from there, so.
Yep. Sounds good. And in 40 seconds, we'll be having council meeting.